Going into my pregnancy, I didn't want to be induced, but whenever it's in the middle of August and you're swollen and it's hot and you're big and pregnant and you're just ready to meet your daughter, welcome back to our channel. We are Time with the Taylors. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss a video, and give this video a big thumbs up. So this video is going to be my labor and delivery story. We did a Q&A on Monday. Someone asked about my labor and delivery story and how everything went down. And so it's a very lengthy story just for a Q&A, so I decided to do a separate video. So sit back, relax with your wine or your Dr. Pepper or your sweet tea or your water and enjoy this little story of my labor and delivery. So at 36 weeks, I started going to the doctor every single week up until 40 weeks. And I think it was my 38-week appointment, he was kind of concerned because I wasn't dilating. I wasn't having any pain, no contractions, anything. And they say usually your first baby, they are kind of stubborn and don't want to come out. So I think it was at my 38-week appointment, he was kind of concerned. And so then he was like, let's just see the next week and see how you are. And so the next week came around, I went in and I still wasn't dilated any. Going into my pregnancy, I didn't want to be induced, but whenever it's in the middle of August and you're swollen and it's hot and you're big and pregnant and you're just ready to meet your daughter, I was just like, okay. I was just thinking in my head, if I do not have her by the 40-week mark, well, I'll just go ahead and be induced. And so he said, let's just schedule your induction date I was due on a Sunday. Let's just go ahead and schedule it. That Wednesday night, you'll come in and we'll do all this stuff. And then Thursday, hopefully you'll have her. I said, okay. So this was, I think, on a Tuesday, whenever he told me all this stuff. And so Friday, I remember it very vividly. I was at work. I ate lunch. I felt fine. And then all of a sudden, after lunch, it was like 2. I did not feel good. And I told my friend from work, I was like, Savannah, I do not feel good. Something's wrong. And I just felt like nauseated, and I did not feel, I felt, the only way I can describe how I felt is just blah. I felt blah. And so she was like, well, maybe when you get home you'll feel better. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I should nap. So I went home and my nausea got worse and worse and worse. And I was like, well, crap. And then it got to where like I felt like I needed to throw up. And TMI for anybody that doesn't like this kind of stuff, but I was having very bad diarrhea and I was nauseated and I couldn't eat anything. And but the thing that concerned me the most was my heart rate. I was sitting and my heart rate would jump up to like 150, 160. And that's what my mom was kind of concerned about. And I had heard that if you have diarrhea and stuff, that sometimes that's like a sign of labor, that you're going into labor. And so I was like, well, maybe I'm going to labor. But my heart rate concerned me, so I called my doctor, and he said he just wanted me to come in so he could check me out and make sure everything was okay. And, I might stay, and I might have her, and I might not. We'll just see if I'm dilated any. And to this point, I still hadn't had any pain, hadn't had any contractions or anything. I literally hear Haven crying. Okay, anyways. So at this point, I was nauseated and I hadn't thrown up. I started dry heaving. We got all of our stuff together. We were going to go to the hospital. And so I'm having her in Tyler, so it's like an hour away. And so we get all of our stuff together just in case I end up having her and we stay the night. And we're getting ready to walk out the door and I feel it coming. And so I run to the bathroom and I puke. And so then we get in the car, and we're driving, we make it to Palestine, and we pull over to the gas station because David wants an energy drink because it's like 10 o'clock at night. And He gets an energy drink, and he gets out of the car, and as soon as the car stops, puts it in park, I run out, and I vomit everywhere again. Get back in the car, we drive, we make it to Tyler. We're turning on a road. We're like 2 minutes away from the hospital. We turn, or we're like going towards the light, and we're turning right. And I'm like, David, you're gonna have to pull over. You're gonna have to pull over. I'm about to puke. And so he like hops up on the curb on by this red light, and I run out and I puke everywhere. And like all these people are stopping, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, no biggie. I'm just big and pregnant, puking my guts up. But so that was the last time I puked. And then we made it to the hospital. Went up to labor and delivery, to their little overnight emergency kind of section. It wasn't like an actual labor and delivery room. Summing that whole evening up, she said it was a stomach bug, and I'm like, no, it's not a stomach bug. But I was dilated to a 1, but still nothing. And she was like, if you were dilated to a 3 or 4, we would keep you and you could just stay, but you're only 1, and it could be hours, days. So they were like, just go home. They gave me fluids. They gave me 2 bags of fluids. They gave me some medicine for my indigestion because it was bad, and they gave me some medicine for my nausea. And I went home. And that next day, I just ate crackers. I had like a bland diet, crackers, water, Powerade, and I felt better, and I never threw up again. And then that was Friday. And then Wednesday comes around. I was supposed to have her Sunday. She never came, obviously. Wednesday comes around, so we pack up our bags, and we're going. What are we doing?
We are going to Tyler to welcome our little baby girl, Haven, into the world. Because you are 40 weeks and 2 days.
And you don't have your seatbelt on.
No.
And they get us scheduled in and everything, and we brought so much crap. Like, the woman looked at us like we were crazy. But we get in there, and they start me on, I don't think it was Cervidil, but it was some brand of that. So it's like a little pill, and they put it up you. And it softens your cervix, kind of getting it ready for labor. And they gave me one at like 6 o'clock, and then David got me Chick-fil-A. It's yummy. And then they gave me one at like 4 in the morning, and then I think that was it. I think I only got 2. I either got 2 or 3 of those. Kind of softened my cervix. And so then Buckinger, my doctor, comes in the morning at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And he was like, okay, we're going to just try and break your water. That's very painful. Nothing compared to labor, but so he sticks this thing at me to try and pop. So you got to think of it's like a sack, and they're in the sack. And he's basically trying to prick the sack to pop it, for your water to break. And he did. As soon as he got it, it did not feel good, but it just, this is so much in detail. So, broke my water, and they're like, we'll just see if your body naturally goes into labor, and if it doesn't, then we'll start you on Pitocin, which is, I think it's the medicine, I think it is, that kind of, it jumpstarts your labor. My body started going into labor on its own, so I never had to have that at first. So I started contracting, and let me tell you, it was painful. And so whenever you do have that medicine, they kind of limit you to like what you can do. But since I hadn't had it, they let me get on the ball, and I sat on that for a while. And they're like, you can get your epidural at any time. And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of wanted to wait. I was like, I'm just going to wait till I'm in tears. Like, that's what I'm going to be like, okay, I'll get the epidural. My husband went to Academy because it was going to be a while. He comes back with some lottery tickets. I won $100.
Haven, your mama just won you $100. Hopefully that'll send you to community college.
And I keep contracting, and they're getting worse and worse. And so I'm like, okay, I was crying. And I was like, okay, epidural time. So at this time, I still haven't had Pitocin. Sometimes when you get an epidural, it'll slow down your labor, and sometimes it speeds it up. But for me, it kind of stalled it. So I wasn't really... So after they gave me the epidural, felt wonderful. The needle didn't. So I was like in so much pain while they were giving me the epidural. I was so terrified that I was going to mess it up because I was shaking because I was in so much pain. And so I had a nurse standing in front of me. She was so sweet. I wish I could remember her name. I had so many good nurses, y'all. And so she held me, and I was just trying so hard not to shake. So I wasn't even focused on the pain of the needle. I was just focused on not shaking because I didn't want him to miss. And so they got the epidural in, and I laid back down, and after it was set in, it felt good. And at this point, so epidural, no one told me this, but the epidural sometimes has a side effect of making you shake. And it's like a shiver, like you have the chills whenever you have a fever or something. You're like, and I literally I could not quit. And my jaw was so sore by the end of the night. Like, I wanted to get her out because my jaw just hurt so bad from shaking. So then my epidural started wearing off, so the shakes kind of started wearing off. But it's like one part of my epidural wasn't working, and it was like a spot behind my right butt cheek on my back of my thigh, and it wasn't working, so I could feel everything in that spot. And I'm telling you, it hurt. So I just could not imagine not having an epidural. So props to all you moms out there that went through labor and did all that without the epidural. Shout out to y'all, because that was no joke. So then I think the anesthesiologist came back in multiple times to give me more doses because it would wear off and it would hurt so bad. I'm like, and she was like, you should be feeling pressure, but you should not be feeling pain. And I'm like, this hurts. Like, I was crying, and I had my epidural, so that really didn't make sense. And so I started laboring, and as I was contracting and everything, so I can't remember, I think I got to a 5 whenever he gave me the epidural, 4 or 5, and then gave me the epidural and everything, and all that happened, and then it kind of stalled, and so he came and checked me. I was a 6, and then he came and checked me. I was at a 7. Then he came an hour later. I was still at a 7. Then he came an hour later. I was still at a 7. And so he was like, so whenever you kind of stall like this, that's kind of a red flag that something might be up. And then I can't remember exactly what happened. I think he said we're going to wait. At this point, I've been laboring I labored total like 22, 24 hours. So I was very, very tired. But he was like, we're just going to wait it out. We're going to see and wait a couple more hours. If you haven't dilated, we'll see if we can do something else and figure this out. So I made it up to a 7. Yeah, I was still at a 7. And so he's like, we're going to put an internal monitor inside you. Because the one on your belly, it can monitor when you're having contractions, but it doesn't monitor how strong they are. So he's like, we're going to put one inside of you, and that'll tell if they're strong enough. And so he put the monitor in, and my contractions were strong enough, so I should have been progressing and dilating more. I think I ended up dilating to a 9.5. I think that's when they gave me, after my epidural, whenever it stalled, they started giving me Pitocin. And that kind of made me, contract and labor more. So I ended up getting to a 9.5. Or 9. They said 9.5, but I think they were just trying to be nice to me. I got to a 9, and then an hour later I was at a 9. An hour later I was at a 9.
Megan, I think I'll take some spring pillow out to your daddy.
Okay, that's fine. That's David's. He might be sleeping. Probably got a concussion or something.
These cards in the front, all the guesses.
You're being stubborn, Haven. We're gonna have a serious talk when you come out.
It is 12/20, August 22nd.
Hey, Elise is the only one who said August 22nd.
We waited all day.
Do you remember?
I do not.
You are the only
waited all
one
day.
who wrote down
And you
August
didn't come.
the 22nd.
What time?
And you don't want to know the time she said.
No.
Megan is a
Everybody
9.
else said.
I'm just gonna go with my gut, and I think that we need to do a C-section. Because what I'm afraid is going to happen is you're going to push, you're going to push, you're going to push, you're going to push, and you're going to push for 4 hours, and then we're going to end up having to do an emergency C-section, which is more serious than just planning one. And I was like, okay. Another red flag, that the reason that he wanted to go ahead and do a C-section was her heart rate was kind of doing something funky while I was in labor. And also, I had a low-grade fever. So that was kind of concerning. But he was like, but let's see. I want you on your next contraction. I want you to push like you're pushing. And let me see if I can see anything. Like if she's getting stuck or something. And so I did. And he said that it's concerning because her head is coming, or the tissue is coming off of her head, but her head's not coming. Which kind of makes them have that cone-shaped head when they first come out. And so she was like, or he said, so, you know, I think we should go ahead and do the C-section, which I was just exhausted. I started crying, but I was just like, I'm to the point where I'm just ready to get her out of me. So, he planned for a C-section. We go back there, and I got very, very nauseated. He strapped me down. They strap your arms down. I guess you can't like pull or anything. Strap your arms down. And, you know, David was right beside my head. And I started dry heaving because I was so nauseated. And they put a bucket by my head. I never threw up, but I was so nauseated. And then they numbed me and everything, and I couldn't feel anything. And then they started cutting. And so when it literally felt like someone was pulling at my insides. Like, it didn't hurt, but it was the weirdest feeling ever. Like, I can't even explain it. It was just like someone was tugging at my insides. And then finally they got her out. Whenever they did deliver her, she was face up. So I was very thankful, and he was very glad that he also went with his gut. And at this point, David is like so tired. So it's like the nurses were trying to get a reaction out of him, like, it's your baby girl, like, and he was just like, and this is what he's telling me, because obviously I was, you know, still on the table. And we've been up for so long. And so they got her cleaned up and brought her over there to me while they were sewing me up. And I started crying, and so then David started tearing up. But it was one of the best. It's like that, the moment that you see your baby is just the best feeling ever. Like, I just can't explain it. So then they take the baby, and David and them go away, and they're sewing me up. I start getting, like, you know, whenever you get in, like, traumatic events, like a wreck or something, and they're like, you need to stay awake, you need to stay awake. And they're like, I'm so sleepy. That's how I felt. And I was like, I told the doctor, I was like, is it normal for me to be sleepy? And they were like, no. And so I was thinking, okay, I gotta stay awake. I just gotta stay awake. So I was like trying to focus on anything. But I was so tired. And I think it's because of the blood, all the blood that I lost. But they never told me that I had any complications. So I was just like, but I really think not something went wrong, but that wasn't normal. Finally, I got to hold her, and it's just the best feeling ever. But that is my very lengthy labor and delivery story. If y'all have any questions, feel free to comment them in the comment section below. And yeah, that's about it. Where is my baby? Oh, Lord Jesus. What is Daddy doing? He got you sitting in your little chair. What is you doing? Oh, you don't want to be in that, do you? Champ, quit. Daddy didn't want to hold you. Is good lighting? That look good? Does that butt look good? No? Yes.
I mean, pizza's good. It looks like a pizza.
What's that supposed to mean?
My version of labor and delivery
Oh my God.
would have been so much better.
Girl!
I would have talked about things like how the seed was planted. And, you know,
They didn't want to know that.
things like that. It'd have been in depth.
Listen,
Real,
this is why she's fussy.
real good.
Smell that. You smell that? That's why she's fussy. Okay, ready? I gotta go change your diaper. Ready? See? Yeah.